Ladies and gentlemen, ZoWilliams has returned to the voice of reason. Foxxhole Radio, Sirius 106, XM 149. Tonight's topic is absolutely crazy. I told y'all last week that I was going to do this topic because I think it's very important that we cover it. And one of my close friends is sitting in tonight producing Johnny motherfucking Mac. He doesn't like producing my show. He's over here cracking jokes about me right now. Anyway, you got to call in. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Tonight's topic, the death of redemption. Can a man be socially redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? Is this the one thing that a man can do that he can never be forgiven for? I.e., O.J. Simpson? I.e., Kobe? Talk to me. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Is that the one thing a dude can do that he will never be redeemed for? And what is the pathway back to redemption? What does a man have to do? What can he do to be redeemed? Could somebody tell me? Call in. Let me know. 877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. Again, we have a special guest. She was here last week, and she was so great last week that I thought it was very important to bring her back. My co-host, the lovely, the talented, the funny, you know who she is, Tiffany Haddish. Speak to him, Tiff.
Hi, everybody. How are we doing this evening? The topic of the evening is very, very powerful.
I think it's provocative, and I think it's something that we need to deal with. Have you ever dealt with domestic violence? And if you did, how was the dude redeemed if he was redeemed?
I've dealt with domestic violence, and I would have to say that, well, see, it depends on the situation. Mm-hmm. Okay, one dude, he was never redeemed from it. He didn't actually hit me. He threw a brush at me. But when he put the sugar in my gas tank and tore up my little car, now that was a problem for me.
Wow.
So I had to boo-boo in his shoes. But we just going to pass that. Because all that shit he put me through, he had to walk in it that one time. But, and then there's another dude, he choked me a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, I couldn't shut up. I pretty much brought that upon myself. And my grandma always taught me, first time a guy hit you, shame on you. Second time he hit you, first time he hit you, shame on him. Second time, shame on you. And
wow.
So he never hit me again, so we was cool.
877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. The topic, the death of redemption. Can a man be redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? I have questions.
Now, wait, I have a question for you. You said, i.e. Kobe? Kobe never beat nobody up.
But people do not forgive Kobe.
People do forgive Kobe.
He might be coming back.
All Kobe did was sleep with a white woman.
Well, I think he tore the panties off, too.
But she wanted it that way. That's how she liked it.
I don't know.
He did nothing wrong.
877-2-106-106 is the number to dial. The death of redemption. It's an important conversation. We also have on the phone lines two special guests. One special guest, he's been here before, or he's called in before. He's a great dude. He's an author of the book, A New Conversation with Men. He's Coach Michael Taylor. Michael Taylor, could you speak really quickly?
Yes. How are you, Zoe? How's everything going?
Man, everything is good, man. I appreciate your work, even though we kind of grill you a little bit, but we love your work. That's why we keep having you back. And your work is in redefining masculinity, correct?
Absolutely. And although your show is entertainment, I commend you on having a serious topic, which I hope your listeners will really pay attention, because we don't want to make light of some of the tragedies that we have going on in our communities. And so here's an opportunity for us to have a dialogue that can assist us in eliminating a lot of these issues that we're going to talk about.
True indeed. Now, on to my next guest. Very important sister here. Is she a sister? I guess she is. She's a female, so we can call her a sister.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, sister of Nicole Brown Simpson, Tanya Simpson, is on the phone. Could you speak to the people and let them know you're in the building?
Hi, Zoe. How are you?
Long
Thank
time
you so
no
much
see.
for having me on. You know, it's like I have to follow what Mike said. This is a very important issue that's affecting a lot of people in our community, and most likely the people who are listening right now know somebody or are a victim themselves. So, you know, especially, and I'm glad that we're talking about the men tonight because it's very important. It's you know, it's a male-dominated, you know, act. And I think it's very important that we start educating, you know, say, for example, the calltomen.org, that, you know, that's how we met, you and I. Yes. And I think it's very important that we're talking about this. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you know what? Let's get into it. I always have provocative questions on this show. And, I mean, so many people want to talk about male abuse, and we can't marginalize that at all because I think according to the Justice Department, I think it's 1/3 of all deaths that women, you know, encounter, death of women, come in intimate relationships.
Yeah.
Now, what's so crazy about this stat is if you start breaking down all of the domestic violence stats, 2% of all violence committed against men are done by their partner. In other words, they're women.
Right.
But 28% of all violence against women are created by their partners. So, I mean, the numbers are very disparaging. And you have a lot of guys out there, I mean, I've heard on Facebook and, you know, YouTube, a lot of guys are saying women talk themselves into this. Right? I've heard this.
Well, I think that
Talk to me,
men don't have the capacity to communicate the way a woman can. See, a woman's words can be so deadly sometimes, and a man doesn't know how to respond to that except with his fists. Sometimes I think they have no self-control.
Michael?
Well, see, I have to disagree because first and foremost, there is never justification for a man to hit a woman. That's my opinion. I think what we're missing out on, and this is the reason for my new conversation, all violence has at its core the emotion of anger. So the question becomes, how do we educate men on how to deal with that anger appropriately versus taking it out on the women they're supposed to love? Right. And so until we as a society decide to have this new conversation where men learn to recognize their emotions and how their unresolved issues that they haven't dealt with are affecting their behavior now, will never change this.
So Michael, really quickly, Michael, tell them what you do, your book, just really quickly, 10 seconds.
Yeah, again, I'm Coach Michael Taylor, and what I do is I design programs that give men information and awareness on who they are as men. It's about creating a new paradigm of masculinity where men learn to get in touch with who they really are by dealing with their emotional, psychological, intellectual aspect of themselves.
Tanya, what do you think about this? What's your opinion?
I think, you know, my opinion is I'm not one who really follows statistics because too often a lot of these domestic violence acts don't go
underreported. Yeah, they're underreported.
Yeah, they go underreported. And so how many men are actually out in our communities are being battered by women but aren't speaking up?
Right.
You know, being a man, it's, you know, oh, my girl's hitting me, my girl's, you know, slapping me, throwing brushes, like you were saying. You know, it's you know, there's so much violence happening, and I'm hearing more about it, more and more so as time goes on, with men being battered. But we need more men coming forward and saying, hey, this is happening to me. You know, it's you know, it's a male, like I said, it's a male-dominated act. However, more men are being battered than we know. It's just not masculine to say, hey, you know, my ladies, you know, hurt me all the time, and they stay quiet, and them too get killed. So it's, you know, it's a very dangerous situation. So no matter what gender. So I'm very skeptical when I use statistics.
Yeah, but you know, like there's one that says 1 out of 4 million women are assaulted by their partners, boyfriends, or husbands, or roommates. You know, lesbians fight too.
Same, yeah. The problem is same sex as well. That's one, or it's like 1 in between 4 million. It's like 1 in between 1 and 4 million. And the reason why there's such a 3 million, you know, kind of disparity there in you know, the reporting is, like Tanya said, women and people are just not reporting this. So when they bring that stat out, well, let's first talk about what it's called. from my understanding, it's called, sociologists calls it IVP. And what is that? Or IPV.
IPV, intimate partner violence.
Intimate partner violence. So what happens with IPV, it gets broken into two categories. You have CCV, common couple violence, which they consider to be the moderate version. And then you have intimate terrorism.
Oh.
And that's the more
Intimate
severe.
terrorism.
Yeah, there was a sociologist by the name of Michael P. Johnson that separated IPV, intimate partner violence, into two categories, CCV and IT.
Who's the terrorist? The woman or the man?
It typically is.
I should be a
But
terrorist.
But you know what? It makes sense because people who live, women especially who live in homes where there's domestic violence, they essentially are prisoners of war.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, definitely.
They're prisoners
Exactly.
in their own homes.
Right. So, but the overall question of this show is, because IPV is so prevalent, and when I say it's prevalent across every form of relationship, whether it be same-sex relationship, whether it be adolescents, college students, premarital, married. I mean, it is prevalent. And what they say is, and prevalent doesn't mean acceptable. Prevalent doesn't mean right. Common doesn't mean good. But what they're saying is, because it's so pervasive, now we have to separate what a battered woman is, or someone who's suffering from intimate terrorism, versus someone who's suffering from CCV, common couple violence. Common couple violence is dealt with through surveys. A person can call and say, hey, are you guys experiencing, we're conducting a survey, are you guys experiencing violence in your relationship? Well, yeah, I pushed them, or I smacked her, or, it's dealt with through surveys.
So like
CCV.
what my cousin does, like she won't date a man unless he hits her, and that's common couple violence. Like that's her thing. That's what she likes.
You see, and that's crazy to me. But
Yeah,
She has a wire loose or something.
Wow.
And I think that's because she grew up watching her mother fight her father, and she thinks that's love. That's, to her, is wired to love and intimacy.
right.
And see,
Wow.
this is what I think is very important to me. I interrupt. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Come.
Go
I
ahead,
think
girl.
I think many people and majority of people are very judging of a person who batters and a person who's a victim. Nicole aside, because we've never seen domestic violence in our own home. I mean, my God, I come not from a perfect family because we're all girls, but for the most part, we are a very tight, cohesive family. But for people who have been exposed to violence, that's all they know.
Right.
So, if they're not exposed to something different, something more of a positive, loving, harmonious home life environment, what else, that's normal to them. That's their normal.
Right.
But, see,
can I come in, Mike?
But see,
Yes, Mike.
Here's one of the things I think we fail to recognize, and as simplistic as it sounds, I think it's really the cause of what we're talking about, and that is only a hurt person will hurt another person.
Go deeper.
And what we're unwilling to look at, especially from a male perspective, men have emotional, psychological hurt that they are unconscious of. And they are unwilling sometimes to look at the hurt and what the origins of that hurt are, and therefore they will keep perpetuating this hurt. And so as men, what we have to be willing to do is get courageous enough to figure out where that hurt came from. And when we can figure out where that hurt came from, we can start healing that hurt. And it is only in healing our hearts that we can become, as you say, redeemed. Because it's about healing more so than redemption.
But you know what? There's a lot of guys out there who will say things like, that woman's mouth, she talked up on it. Or she pushed me too far. She knows my buttons.
She kept hitting me with her high heel shoe in the back of the head.
Again, they've done research out here. There's a lot of research out here to bear on this.
Got it.
And maybe Tanya knows about it. You've heard about the CTS, which is a survey that Strauss did in 1980. The CTS is the Conflict Tactical Survey.
Yes. Okay. Now I didn't know the abbreviation.
But you understand the Conflict Tactical Survey, and what they said from that thing, and it's the most widely used while at the same time the most hated, because it doesn't have it has a bias towards impact, right? So what happens is when they do the research, women come out as the most violent. Because women will push, women will, they will actually physically push, they will actually physically throw things.
Yeah.
And what happens is it's a misleading kind of survey because it doesn't talk about impact. Women are showing up in the hospital, not men.
Yeah, because once a woman gets hit, she gets broke usually.
Right. A man can break a woman.
Generally, is a man much larger, much stronger.
Right.
But again, what we fail to recognize, and I'm sure there are lots of unreported cases of women abusing men. No question.
Oh, yeah.
No question about that.
That's embarrassing.
But
you're right about that, though, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, because that comes back to the whole paradigm of masculinity. As a man, I don't want to say that my woman's beating me up. That really just destroys my ego. But my point here is, when I do my workshops and I really get men to move to that place of vulnerability, and that's what terrifies a lot of men, getting to that place of vulnerability where they say, I hurt. When you get to that point, then you begin laying the foundation for healing and transformation. But as you mentioned, or as I've said countless times, that we live in a paradigm of masculinity that doesn't give men the freedom or the access to this information that allows them to talk about their hurts, to be open and honest about the pain that they feel. And until we start addressing it, because the experts will tell you that all violence, all addictive behaviors have at their core an unresolved emotional conflict. And so when we can resolve that emotional conflict, then that person can move past that negative behavior.
Right. And
I totally agree, Mike. You said you pointed it out so clearly. It's what we're seeing. A lot of people stuff their emotions because we live in a society where we're not, especially men, we're not supposed to feel, we're not supposed to acknowledge. So that all that stuffing, all that anger, all that anguish, all that pain, all that stress and anxiety and even depression, what gets stuck has to come out. And unless we teach people, men and women and children of all ages, how to address that anger, and anger is a very healthy emotion.
Absolutely.
It gets unhealthy when you start slapping, throwing things, and killing people. That's when it gets out of control.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to get your book, Mike.
Yeah, because we have to understand that emotions aren't good or bad. Emotions are just your spirit's way of communicating. And so what's happening, though, especially from a male perspective, if you look at the situation in Fort Hood, okay, so you have a therapist that's supposedly helping the men that's dealing with the problem, but he hadn't even dealt with his own issues.
Right.
So it's not intellectual, it's emotional.
Right.
We have to begin the process of emotional healing and understanding. That's the only way we're going to start removing this violence.
So you do workshops, right, Mike?
Yes.
So how young do you start at these workshops? Because, there's little boys beating up on girls in school all the time, and they think, they just get suspended for a day or get, detention, and then that's it. And then they're back out there beating a girl up, and she's thinking, well, maybe this is what boys are supposed to do if they like you, because that's what they always say. Oh, he must like you. That's why he keep hitting you. So then girls think, if he hits me, if he hits me, I must be hot, or, that he loves me. So how young do you start these guys in these classes?
It does start early. And I actually have two programs. I have a company that develops programs for kids specifically, and it's called Too Cool Club. And basically what we do is we create self-esteem building awareness programs that assist young children in understanding their emotions so that they can start acting appropriately at an early age. And I think that's the key, because when we can start early, we don't have to, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
If we can start teaching our kids early the appropriate way to deal with their emotions, then I think we can resolve a lot of these issues. Right now, my attention is focusing on men, specifically men over the age of 20 is my quote-unquote target market. But this thing, it needs to start at the early ages if we want to resolve it.
Like elementary school age, because I remember boys used to always be pulling my hair and socking me, and the teacher would be like, oh, he just likes you. So now here I am thinking all these boys like me, they making fun of me, calling me moly roly, and that I had roaches and all this. I'm thinking, oh, he's just paying me attention, and he's talking bad about me, man. He care about me, he paying attention to me, and it really didn't give a hoot about me, huh?
Wow.
Is that what you telling me, Mike?
So let me.
He was just experiencing hurts.
So Mike, let me do this, Mike. Yes. Mike, let me do this really quickly. We got callers on the line. They want to talk to us. Let's get into this right now. Again, tonight's topic, the death of redemption. Can a man be socially redeemed? can he be redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? Ray from Baltimore, you're in the Voice of Reason. It's your time to chime. Holla.
It was good. So good to talk to you again.
Appreciate it, bro.
Definitely. First, I'd like to make a statement, man. It is never, ever an excuse to put your hands on a woman. Never, period. It takes a real man to walk away. Now, having said that, I have a lot of friends of mine, male friends, and they always tell me, like, boy, you just don't know, like, somebody going to push you to that point. And I always tell them, like, no, man, it's never an excuse to put your hands on a woman. I was a boy as a little kid. I see a dude get into a fight with a girl, and I come get into a fight to defend that girl. This has always been me. The fact of the matter is this. It takes a real man to walk away. There's never an excuse. And anybody that believes in hitting a woman because they're fussing at you is less than a man and have no heart. Holler at y'all next week, Pete.
Appreciate it.
Amen.
Again, a good point, but I gotta play devil's advocate here. But before I do that, we gotta take a quick break. You know, we went straight, no chaser right now. Please reach out to the Voice of Reason right now. It's a very important topic. The death of redemption. Can a man be socially redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? The number is 877-210-6106. That's what we need you to do. Call in and let us know what's cracking. We're about to take a quick break, and I'll see you in a minute. Peace. And we're back. Great record. She's not gonna cry.
What's loving you?
877-210-6106.
Why you doing me like that?
That's the number to dial, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to The Death of Redemption with ZoWilliams, Voice of Reason, Foxxhole Radio, Sirius 106, XM 149. Man, this is a heavy topic. We got wonderful guests. We got Michael Taylor. We got Tanya Brown, sister of Nicole Brown Simpson. And we also have my wonderful co-host, Tiffany Haddish. Man, it's very important that you guys reach out and call us right now. 877-210-6106. That's the number to dial. And I have a little business to take care of. I want you guys to join the Foxhole every Monday night at the Conga Room in downtown L.A. for the Foxhole Live with your host, funny man, Mark Curry, and this week's special guest, musical guest, Tidra Moses. And the night gets started off with Claudia Jordan's show. Her show will be live in the Conga Room at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it's the Foxhole Live. Don't miss it this Monday with Tidra Moses, live music with Nissan and the band, comics and Mark Curry. Look, I was there last week. Sheila E., who's part owner of the Conga Room, got up, grabbed the drumsticks, and killed. So, I mean, it was a wonderful night, especially for the inaugural night. It was on fire. It was dimes all over the place. I thought somebody busted open a phone booth. It was retarded. You feel me? It was quite ridiculous. So please come down and support the Foxhole Live every Monday, starting with Claudia Jordan's show. It was a great movement. Now back to business. Topic: death of redemption. Can a man be socially redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? And that's why I say it's important for me to play devil's advocate. Here's devil's advocate. The woman's mouth, her tongue, and this is what I hear from friends. Compadres. A woman's mouth can talk herself into an ass kicking. That's what I hear. In a minute. But let me go even deeper. That's the hood version. Let's go to the real version. I'll see people who have, and I want Tanya and Mike and Tiffany, I want you guys to chime in, and we got callers lined up. I've heard people say, I went to therapy, and the therapist told me that verbal and emotional abuse is as intense or maybe lasts even longer and has a deeper impact than physical abuse.
Absolutely.
Now, and when I hear that, I wonder, do women consider them talking their men down or emasculating their men? I wonder, do they consider that a type of abuse where this guy can only tolerate so much of that and then reacts? Because they do say that common couple violence is a loss of control, right? Where the tension is built up and then it's released through a physical act. I wonder, is there any accountability for the women? Because men always say there's no real reason to hit a woman. But what if a man emotionally, psychologically isn't built to take that mouth and that constant belittling, and is that considered violence?
Because words hurt, though. Words are very vicious, and women say some mean things. I know I have called many of a man a pussy ass nigga, bitch, little booty hole, dookie fag, everything, you know. Oh, dookie dick ass nigga, oh, broke ass motherfucker, you can't do shit with your raggedy ass. And then, you know, then they get really mad. Their feelings are hurt.
What do you think, Tanya?
You know what? This is where Mike's programs come into place, and it calls the men step outside of the man box, deal with your anger, face it, and don't release it and take it out on other people. If you, I think Mike was also saying earlier, it's all about prevention, and I think one thing that we've got to be mindful of our physical selves, our physiology. It's like, okay, my heart's beating fast. I'm getting stressed. I'm getting anxious. I feel like I'm about to explode right now. I got to step back. It's like the man from Baltimore who just called, and I just recently moved back from Baltimore on Friday, and I miss it already. Is that he said, it's there's no excuse for it. But I forgot where I was going. But in any event, we need to stop it before it even happens. And in order to prevent it, people have to be mindful of their bodies, of their own selves. And when they start, what I call triggers, pay attention to those triggers. Deal with that anger.
Right.
Yeah, because usually women say the things that get them hit are, this is not even your baby. Your dick is small and you can't do it to me good anyways. That's why your brother is better in bed. That's stuff that's usually get you hit.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen that for real life. People get hit for that.
Wow. Yeah, some horrible things. But I think
that's why I gave you herpes, like stuff like that. That is dangerous.
Wow. But let me go back because I think this is very important for us to cover, because I don't want it to seem like conflict is a two-way street in relationships. And what it's feeling like is when you say there's no excuse for a man to hit a woman, it's almost like you set him up for not being redeemed when he does. Now, we have groups like A Call to Men, and we have groups like amend.com or .org where people are trying to offer these resources to men. We have Michael Taylor and what he does with his book, A New Conversation with Men. We have this, but it seems like it's one-sided towards the man fixing himself. Are we saying that men are just supposed to take psychological, verbal, and emotional abuse from women? Are we supposed to just take it?
No, not at all.
So when do we call women to the floor and say, you got to stop talking sideways?
Well, that's when a man steps up and be a man and say, you know what, I'm not going to be with you anymore because I'm not going to take this verbal abuse from you.
That's it.
I'm a man. I am a man. You don't talk to me like that. And then that's how you snap that in the bud. And if she keep on doing it, then you need to drop her and get another one. There's too many females out here to be taking that verbal abuse from anybody.
Good point.
Silence kills. Silence kills. If you remain quiet, you're going to keep being beaten and you're going to keep abusing. So it's like, start speaking up about it.
And a woman going to be like, oh, he's a punk. Oh, you a punk. I can talk to you any way I want to.
Gabe from Memphis. You're in the Voice of Reason. It's your time to chime. Holla, brother.
What's going on there, Zoe?
What up?
I had to call in on this one, man. Y'all have covered the theological part of it across the board. But, no reflection on my education, but let me get hood 1 second. I grew up in a very, very abusive family. My father actually is doing 125 years now for murder. So I watched this. My cousins being beat and shit. Nah, I don't believe in that. I'm 36 years old. I've never ever hit a woman in my life, and I respectfully say that. Now, the pulling of the hair, like she said in school, we're not talking about that. We're not being adolescents, and we're being grown about this. My baby mother shot me twice.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. Now,
she needed to get popped.
Nah, fuck that. You know what I did? I called the police. Like I tell my wife, I've been with my wife 12 years. If you ever lay your hands on me, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to hit 911 so fucking fast, your head going to spin. It's about common sense, and it's about self-preservation and self-respect. I'm a man. I'm 205 pounds. I can hit my wife and break her jaw in half. I know this. You don't have to teach a class to teach a man to know common sense. We are a stronger vessel. A woman is a weaker vessel. It's about accountability. Everybody's making excuses for everything nowadays. Oh, I robbed the liquor store because I want to feed my kids, or I raped her because I was molested as a child. Nobody wants to take fucking responsibility for anything they do nowadays. If a man lays a hand on a woman, he should go to jail. Vice versa, you know. And it's about, like Miss Tanya said, and I agree with what she said. It's about knowing your own. Like being in your own realm. Like if a woman makes more
knowledge of self, to know what you are capable of, know your physical cues, know when you're building up, know when to say when, know when to walk out, know when to check yourself when you're getting ready to cross the line. Correct?
Right.
That's a hard thing to do for a lot of people,
especially if they're drunk.
You know, I agree with you, Gabe. I agree with you, but you have to understand. Self-knowledge is not a curriculum that's taught in school.
Right.
Self-knowledge is learned through experience. A lot of people don't know what their limits are. A lot of people don't know what their boundaries are until they're in a situation. So it's easy to say, know your limits. Know when you're breathing a certain way. Know when a lot of people are sleeping volcanoes, and they don't know when they're going to erupt until the situation presents itself. That's why I always say relationship is a mirror. You don't know that you're looking at your reflection until you react to something that is presented to you. You don't even know where your triggers are until they are triggered.
And that's why it's so important for us to create this dialogue. And again, I focus most of my attention on men because I think we've missed the boat in terms of men addressing their emotional issues. Because we live in a culture, we live in a society that, I mean, if we will be completely honest with ourselves, you know, domestic violence has been around for a very long time. It transcends race, it transcends societal status. It's been around. So what is it that's driving men to now start asking themselves the question, why do I do what I do? And so we have to start asking ourselves that question, what is it that's driving my behavior? And that's a complex thing, but at the same time, it takes having a dialogue like we're having now to start the wheels turning so that men start going, oh, okay, you know, maybe I haven't thought about that, but I can see that in me. Or, you know, listen to this program. Someone may be inspired to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. So they start looking for resources. So the question becomes, where are the resources to assist men who are courageous enough to change their behavior? And that's why I've created my resource, and that's why it's important for us to share information with each other so we can start spreading this out.
That's it. And, you know, I mean, it is. It's those resources. Can I share a personal story?
Yes.
That's what we like.
5 years ago, I was in the mental hospital, and nobody knows this. I buried 10 years of grief and pain of the murder of my sister and other significant losses in my life. People don't know this about me yet, and until now. And I'm sure a lot of people know about it.
They know now. Millions of people know now.
What it is that, you know, we need to acknowledge those triggers. And Zoe, you said it earlier. It's like I was triggered by the cancellation of my wedding 4 days before he walked away. And that was my trigger that sent me spiraling down into the abyss of pain. But now I acknowledge what those triggers are. And I think, you know, you were addressing that you don't know what your triggers are until you are triggered. So let's create this forum for people. Let's give them the education. Mike's got the education. I got the education. We all do here. And I think it's important for us to create a comfortable forum without judgment and helping people acknowledge feelings and anger. Let's teach them. Everybody's under stress. Everybody, especially right now with the economy. What does that stress make us feel like? You know, again, it's that rapid heart rate. It's the anxiety. It's, you know, my tension. I'm irritable. I'm nasty. I snap at people. And, you know, it doesn't actually need to be a trigger with regards to domestic violence, but everyday living. Because no matter what, a stress trigger is a stress trigger no matter what it is. And
no matter what, exactly.
no matter what it is. And it's just, there's different magnifications of it, but we just need to acknowledge what those triggers are. And more so, instead of acknowledging what the triggers are, what am I feeling like at this very moment in this situation?
Well, girl, I know exactly what you're talking about because I got a gang of triggers. Like, whenever my dude suck his teeth, I'll be wanting to start, like, to go at him. Like, just brush him. Just brush your damn teeth. Just want to get on him on little stuff that... And he got triggers, too. If I'm ever saying something about him not having no money, that really makes him upset. And I think that's a big trigger for all men because they feel like they need to provide. And as soon as a woman starts talking about how he can't provide or how I'm bringing in more than you or I'm doing this better than you, then you can start seeing like a man. You can, because it hurts your feelings, and you can see it taking effect on him.
Yeah.
So
why am I married?
So
because he loved me. That's why I'm married.
And let's
Johnny Mac asking questions.
Let's go even deeper. I mean, I look at this recent thing with Chris Brown and Rihanna, and that's a classic case of CCV, common couple violence. He was getting pushed to the point tension was building up, and then he released the tension through violence, right? Now, common couple violence, like I said, just because it's called common couple violence doesn't make it right.
Nope.
But at the end of the day, the dude reacted to a situation. Maybe he was self-unaware. Obviously, he was self-unaware. But this is the thing that bothers me. There is no safe haven for a man, and I'm not saying that there is none, but it's not as promoted as the safe havens for women. When a young kid like that, he's 21 years old, and he's in the public spotlight, now he's reviled, right? He's hated. His career is over. He's trying to make it back, but he's always going to have that social stigma. This is what I'm talking about, that double standard. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. My point is, why can't there be an organization or a situation? Maybe Michael is the dude to spearhead this, but why can't there be a community outreach of real strong men that embrace him for making the mistake and mentor him back from the mistake so he can be redeemed in the eyes of the public? We need that just as much as women need battered shelters.
I thought that's what they were doing when they have him on the freeway picking up the trash and the leaves and all this stuff with the other strong Mexican men.
No, that's it from strong Mexican men.
Punishment.
That was just his punishment.
That was his punishment.
Right.
But doesn't he go to anger management too? And
yeah, but not all angry people hit. That's what we also need to address too. Domestic violence, the 52-week batterers treatment program. You know, there's anger management programs. So whenever a batterer goes into an anger management, treatment, it's like, well, not all angry people hit. We need to address our anger because it's an emotion, and sometimes it's a very unhealthy emotion, but not all angry people hit.
So how do they redeem themselves? How do they give redemption? Because James Brown beat on all his wives, and then he went on a world tour after he died. So how do you just make a bunch of hit songs?
It's getting out of man box. It's getting out of man box and owning up to it, like what Gabe was saying from Baltimore. It's like, or your other caller from Tennessee. It's stepping up and taking ownership and taking responsibility and being accountable for that action. And when somebody can do that, that's courageous. And I've seen men, I have met men who have totally redeemed themselves. I mean, and they're not in the public eye, but they've gone through their batterers treatment programs. And I like to equate it to like an alcoholic. Okay? Mm-hmm. You've got your drink in front of you. You have the choice right then and there to pick up that drink and drink it. It's just like a batterer. You have the choice right then and there to hit or to walk away. It is a constant awareness.
Right.
And there are treatment programs out there, and I have seen men and I have met men that have gone through programs. Paul Head.
Would you date a man that went through a program?
Good question.
I don't know. You know what? They wouldn't even know. That's a hot question.
That is a hot question. You done burned her eyelashes off.
You're saying these programs work. If they work so good, why wouldn't you date a man out of the program?
Because
you don't have faith in them.
Michael, would you let your daughter be with a girl with a man out of the program? Out of your program?
Battered treatment programs. Is he around?
Michael's still there. You there, Mike?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Tiffany just asked, would you allow your daughter to date a guy who just came out of a batterers program?
Well, when you say just came out of a batterer's program, you got to remember, a person can go through a program and not be transformed.
Right.
Just because they completed the program. The question becomes, did that person really heal what he went in there to heal? And
well,
so,
we will know when he dates your daughter, and we'll see if she get beat up or not.
But here's the point that we sometimes forget or men don't talk about. Mm-hmm. It's important for men that go through any type of a program to learn, first and foremost, how to forgive themselves. Mm-hmm. That is a powerful place that most men can't go to. It doesn't condone their act, but what it does is it starts to heal their heart of their negative behavior.
But see, Michael, let me just do this really quickly.
Yes.
Michael, Tanya, I think you guys are evading the thing. We know men need help. We know that. We know that. Come on. We know.
I would never date a former crackhead.
Right. A third of all women murdered are murdered by their intimate partner. It's kind of like the Indian, the elephant trainers in India, right?
Right.
He's called a mahout, right? And what he does, he has the closest relationship to that elephant than anyone else. He's that elephant's caregiver. But guess what? Guess who killed mahouts more than anything else?
The elephant.
The elephant.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The elephant gets tired of the mahout's training. So our relationships are like that as well. So my question is, yeah, men are wrong for stepping across the line and blacking out. I hear women say it all the time. His eyes, it didn't look like he had a soul. He was gone. He blacked out and he had me, right? But my point is, why can't women also be on the hook? These negative...
Most women in jail are in jail because of a man.
Oh, because they snapped?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oxygen.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, if men need to be retaught, so do women, because these negative, toxic relationships are dyadic. They're one-on-one. They're person-to-person, right? And if that's the case, then that means a man just, and sometimes he does. Sometimes it's about power. And he says, you know what, if I can't control this family or this woman or this situation, everybody dies. We got some dudes like that. But guess what? There are some men who are carrying the burden of being talked to like a little boy by the woman that's supposed to love him.
But
how do we reconcile or reteach her?
Okay, he can just leave her. He picked that woman. That's his choice.
Sometimes you can't leave. Sometimes there's financial constraints. Sometimes you just can't leave. Come on, talk to us.
You're making a powerful point, and the point is we as a community have to really focus our attention on creating great relationships.
Right.
The bottom line is most of us, we create relationships based on past stuff that in a lot of ways is unhealthy. And so when I do what I do everything I do as a result of, number one, going through a divorce, not understanding relationships, being completely confused about what it meant to be a man. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm saying there is a better way. But the challenge is most men aren't courageous enough to start on their own. They wait until they experience something really traumatic before they decide that they need to change. And so what I'm attempting to do with CoachMichaelTaylor.com and my books and so forth, I'm saying, look, here's a resource to help you, to start you off on this process, this journey of transformation. And it becomes a resource where men can go to and feel safe and know that they have a place where there'll be non-judgmentalness, there'll be acceptance, there'll be empowerment, and so you no longer get caught up into all the negative aspects of the media, because this is a very powerful topic and an important topic, but at the same time, most men, the overwhelming majority of men, would never hit a woman.
Right, that's true. So look, on that point, on that note, I got to take a quick break. We will come back. Linda from Ohio, Duran from Texas, hold on. I'm going to get to you when I come back. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Voice of Reason, the death of redemption. Can a man be socially redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? 877-210-6106 is the number to dial. I'll be back. Peace.
Welcome back to The Voice of Reason with ZoWilliams. Tonight's topic, the death of redemption. Can a man be socially redeemed after committing acts of domestic violence? Can he redeem himself?
What it sounds like is no.
I
sounds
think
like
so.
to me. This is what it sounds. But let me do a little bit of business here.
I mean, they got classes and everything.
They got, yes, let me do a little quick business. Join the Foxxhole every Monday night at the Conga Room in downtown L.A. for the Foxxhole Live with your host, funny man, Mark Curry. And this week's special guest is Tidra Moses. First, now understand this, Claudia Jordan is doing her show down there as well. And the show starts at 7 p.m. sharp. So get down and support the sister. She's the Foxhole's wonderful,
model.
yes, the Foxhole's first lady. Wonderful young lady. She's doing her thing. She's aggressive about her business. You should go down there and check out her show, the Claudia Jordan Show. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, it's the Foxxhole Live. Don't miss it this Monday with Tidra Moses, live music with Nissan and the band, comics, and your host, Mark Curry, hanging with Mr. Cooper. See you at the Conga Room in downtown Los Angeles. Is L.A. Live. You guys should check that out. Really quickly, I need to go to some callers because they're here. They're backed up. They want to talk. Darren from Texas, you're in the Voice of Reason. It's your time to chime. Holla.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What up, bro?
I have a forum here that guys get together and we just talk. And when you're going through stuff like domestic violence or whatever, you think your situation is unique. But when you start talking to other guys, you find out, there's nothing special about you or nor your situation.
Right.
So you can actually learn from other people, you know, how they deal with it and get strength from them and give strength to someone else. And I like to throw this in also. The reason I started going because, well, when I first met my wife, she had the most beautiful eyes. But now she's been in my face so much, I can hardly stand to look at them.
Wow.
And I am serious, and it's hurtful, and because you say walk away, I tried that. You know what? She followed me, So, that's embarrassing. You're in the complex and, a woman walking behind you screaming and whatever. So you go back inside and deal with it.
Wow.
So don't you think maybe you should get some counseling for her? Like maybe she needs somebody to talk to. Maybe she has a personal problem where she got to follow you around to talk mess to you. She needs some counseling.
That's something she has to fix herself. We've done counseling.
Wow.
That's something that she has to fix on her own. I did not hit her. And you talk about triggers. There was a trigger that was exposed that I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
Okay, to a point, I started ignoring her. Because 2 hours of this shit, this is what I took. And then I guess she figured I'd tune her out, and she did the finger to the temple thing to me.
Oh.
And I had no idea that was a trigger for me because it never happened before. And I snatched her up, pinned her to the floor, and, I caught myself. But at that moment, I was gone. I don't know what the hell I was, but, yeah.
Blackouts.
Yeah. But I stopped it. I stopped, got up, and got the hell on, and she called the cops, of course.
Man.
But
Darren, I hate to
But you walked away.
I wait, hold on, Tanya. I hate to rush you, Darren. I gotta go because it's getting down to the wire. But I appreciate the call and I appreciate you being so candid and sharing your story with me. Listen, his story comes back to what I initially said. Sometimes I feel, just in objectively observing this thing, sometimes I feel like women use that you're not supposed to hit me thing. It's not societally, or in society, it's not acceptable for you to hit me. And you're supposed to be able to take my verbal and emotional abuse. And if you notice, a lot of times, this is what the CTS shows, that women take it to a level of violence, because actually putting your finger to his head and pushing it, that's a violent act. That's, you see what I'm saying? And a lot of time, women get off the hook for that because of the man's response has a greater impact than what her initial response was, and we wind up making excuses for her. We're not saying that a woman should get her ass beat. We're not saying that a man, at a certain point, you should be able to batter your woman. Right? We're not saying that.
But can he restrain her? Like if she's putting her hands, can he hold her arms and restrain her away from him?
Of course he can.
Maybe shake her a little bit, give her a little baby shake syndrome.
Of course he can. But here's the thing, like he said, he had never experienced that before and didn't know what his trigger was. And then the next step is this. Okay, if you don't know what your trigger is and you never experienced that and you react this way, we have to not let the woman's precursor behavior off the hook. She has to go to some counseling too. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I tell my 9-year-old daughter, listen, don't get used to punching your brother. Because you might get used to punching your boyfriend. And he ain't your brother. Your brother will tolerate you punching him. Your brother will tolerate you smacking him. My daughter smacks her brother. I tell her, men are barbaric on some level.
Yeah, my brother didn't tolerate none of that. He burned a spoon and put it on my sister's face, burned a hole in her face.
Oh, Lord.
He didn't tolerate none of that.
See what I mean?
Yeah, so we learned not to hit men. That's how we learned.
Oh, my God.
Don't
Michael, Tanya, tell us some resources that men can use. There are so many resources out there for women. We know acalltomen.org is one. But let's talk about some resources for men to come back and be redeemed for domestic violence, please.
Well, if any man is courageous enough to take this on, I highly recommend they go to www.coachmichaeltaylor.com. There's all sorts of resources there. They can sign up for our newsletter, stay in contact with workshops that may be coming to their area if they're really interested. So it's a great resource for any man. That's www.coachmichaeltaylor.com.
And do you have another one that isn't your own?
Well,
I like that. That was good.
One of the resources that I recommend is MKP, which is the Mankind Project.
There we go.
That's .org. The mankindproject.org is a great resource also for men.
And Tanya?
I'm a firm believer in batter's treatment programs and anger management courses. Those you can get the information from your local, police stations, even your local courthouses, your your city halls. There are resources out there, but the ones that I primarily work with are the ones that the batter's treatment programs. And a great resource is Alice LaViolette. She's located in Long Beach, I believe, Long Beach, California. Alice LaViolette. And she's been in the movement for like 30-something years. She just got recognized for it a few years ago. And she does batter's treatment programs. Her whole emphasis and specialty is on treating batterers. So, and then they can contact me at TanyaBrown.net, TANYA Brown.net. And, if they can't find anything in their community, shoot, you know what? I'll help them find something. So
right.
There's no.
And I advocate the Bible and walking away from that chick. Hallelujah.
Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, first off, I want to thank Tanya Brown and Coach Michael Taylor. You guys made this a wonderful show. We like to have fun sometimes, but it's very important that we cover topics that go deeper and reach to the core of what we need to do to have positive and meaningful relationships. So, once again, I thank you guys. And let me cover this with my final thoughts. The voice of reason, of course. Ray from Baltimore. It takes a real man to walk away. There is never an excuse for a man to hit a woman. I don't believe that. I'm not saying that men are supposed to hit women. I'm not condoning that men hit women. That's not what I'm saying. But whenever you come at a situation or whenever you come at a problem with an extreme answer,
like Fatal Attraction,
right, you're creating an imbalance. There should be some kind of balance. Men shouldn't hit women, but women also shouldn't have the free reign to disrespect and emasculate men. Gabe from Memphis, shot by his baby's mama, and even still, he did not hit her. He called the police. That's a strong dude.
Yeah, very strong.
That's a strong dude to be able to tolerate that kind of abuse and not react. We applaud you, Gabe. Darren from Texas goes to a domestic violence forum, and it helps him to talk to others in similar situations. He's saying fellowship, just like church, Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever. You need a support group. Let me just say, this is an hour show. And it's important that we continue this dialogue out in the blogger sphere. For those of you who look for me on YouTube, I'm at Zoification on YouTube, right? I make
Zoification?
I make up words. Zoification.
What does that mean?
Catch me on Facebook. Facebook, ZoWilliams on Facebook. I'm not the football player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Hit me up on Facebook, too. Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish on Facebook.
Had and Dish, keep the 2 Ds. Tiffany like the diamonds.
You feel me? Indeed. You can catch me at Twitter at ZoWilliams or at Foxxhole Radio. It's very important that we push the envelope of this conversation and continue it.
Twitter me too. Tiffany Haddish. Twitter at Tiffany Haddish.
Indeed. Tiffany, you have any final parting words that you want to say?
My final parting words are this. Keep your hands to yourself. For every action, there is a reaction. God bless you.
That's as real as it get. My mama always said to my sisters, hey, if you don't want to fight a man, don't put your hands on a man.
Okay.
877-210-6106 is the number. ZO@Sirius-Radio.com is my email. It's time for us to keep this thing going. I look forward to hearing to your responses, and I'll see you next week. Peace.
Good night.